What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at Arcade1up's new deluxe cabinet. This is Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Deluxe with an X-Men 97 skin on it. Kind of a confusing product. There is no X-Men 97 game. This is Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and all the games that were included in that original cabinet that came out just a few years ago, but with a much better price point of $4.99. Is this worth your hard-earned money? Let's go ahead and unbox it, put it together, check it out. All right, so opening up this box is a little bit harder because of all this glue that they decided to use. I don't know why, and really kind of sucks because if you're trying to save the box, which some people like to do, especially with all this X-Men Special Edition branding on it, it's kind of disappointing. So something I want to be aware of. Of course, X-Men 97 theme all over this deluxe cabinet. It's definitely going to get more love than Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is kind of a shame because that's really, I think, going to be more of a reason why people buy this than anything else. Let's go ahead. Here's your first box here. This is going to be your monitor and associated parts and pieces. Right there. Box after box after box. Remember, kids, do not eat this. So your associated hardware. You can see all the different color caps, screw caps, which is really a welcome change. It really just kind of finishes off these side panels. Speaking of side panels, here they are in all their glory. And that is it. Now let's take a closer look at that box, which features a lot of X-Men 97 branding, but not so much of the Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Now the saving grace here is that most of these boxes are not going to be on retail store shelves, so most people are not going to be confused about what they're buying, but it would have been nice to kind of even things out. The details on the side of the box are going to let you know this is exactly what you've come to expect from every other Arcade1up deluxe cabinet. Lit marquees, speakers, and a faux coin door. And as the unboxing continues, I don't see anything out of the ordinary, nothing really different than what I saw with the Mortal Kombat Deluxe cabinet. Everything's packaged roughly the same, so no surprises here. But everything does look pretty good when you consider all that sweet artwork on the side panels. Okay, so a couple questions I know everybody's going to be asking, and really there's one super specific one. And it is about this marquee. So I've seen some pictures online where you've had some real issues, and anytime you deal with solid black, this is going to be a problem, is that it was not in the best condition. So let's go ahead and do this right now. You can see the back for the most part looks pretty solid. You've got some bumpiness right there, but something going on right there. So not exactly sure if the application process is all that it should be, but if you peel, oh boy. If you peel the plastic off the front, there's nothing on the back, right? You can see this thing is, well, you know what, it's less than perfect, and these little imperfections on the back definitely show through in the front. Not good, guys. You definitely need to work on this, especially if we're talking about a special edition cabinet. I'm not sure if you noticed this during the unboxing, but I found these two pieces and I thought that they looked out of place. I didn't remember these on the Mortal Kombat Deluxe, and I actually thought these were the little side pieces that Arcade1up forgot to put the graphics on, but that's not the case because these are right here. So I didn't know what these were, so just to make sure I wasn't crazy, I went back and, because of course I keep all my assembly instructions, went back to the Midway Mortal Kombat Deluxe, opened it up, turned to this page, and yeah, it's just the one piece on the outside, and then you bolt through the side panel. So I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. Open up this instruction manual for the new X-Men 97 cabinet, and they're adding this as kind of a reinforcement. They're going to sandwich the side panels with this piece and this piece, which should give you probably more support, I guess, for the control panel. But not sure why this was done, not sure that this was necessary, but it is a difference between the two that I want to make sure that you take note of when you're talking about Mortal Kombat Deluxe versus Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Deluxe.
But beyond those small differences, this cabinet goes together pretty much like any other Deluxe cabinet. It reminds me a lot of the Mortal Kombat Deluxe. The majority of your time is spent on the upper section. The bottom base is really made up of just about 4 different parts, so no surprises there. And of course, one thing that I like to do whenever I'm assembling these cabinets is anytime I have a metal fastener going into wood, I like to use just a little dab of wood glue to kind of make sure that that locks in place and holds for a long time. And this is by far the most difficult of all of the assembly processes, getting this one side completely done and then laying on that second side panel and lining up all the little dowels. I gotta say though, this is a lot easier than those 3rd generation panels back in the day. There's just less to worry about lining up, but still, remember, take your time, start at the bottom, set a few screws, and then work your way up towards the marquee. And now the major part of the assembly where we take the 2 halves and put them together. Do not be tempted to stand this up and stack it on top of each other. Just lay them down, slide them together, take your time to line up all the panels, and then install those last few screws. And of course, kids, always remember, you're Loctite. And now here's a closer look at those extra pieces that are going to be installed, sandwiching that side panel and adding a little bit of additional support for your control panel.
And before I finish up this installation, I want to take a second and talk about this control panel. There have been a couple changes. We talked about the additional piece inside that kind of adds a little more support, but also I think the big idea was to move this screw head over some so that we could actually have screw caps for the first time on top of the control panel, which, you know, it would have been nice if maybe these are like a gray to match this kind of really cartoonish sort of scratched up diamond plate, but it definitely is a welcome change, and man, it's going to make playing on this thing a lot better because the whole thing is now going to feel smooth and much more finished. Now, as far as the finish is concerned, this new paint method, or I don't know exactly what this is, it's more than just a piece of vinyl because you can feel the individual layers. You've got this layer, which is this background layer. You can feel Arcade1up here, this logo kind of maybe being on top or just embossed or something. You can feel that on top. And you can also feel the kick and punch labels as if they're another layer on top of this layer. How long is this going to last? Is this really going to, you know, just remain flawless, better than if you had that deck protector? I think that remains to be seen. But for right now, let's go ahead and take off this decal and enjoy the look, because I got to tell you, this look is not bad.
Let's rock!
Now I know this side art is not arcade accurate, but the image is high resolution. It looks pretty good, and it also doesn't hurt that I'm a fan of the show. And with it sitting right next to my custom Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Deluxe, I gotta tell you, it's not a bad pair of arcades. But enough of this light stuff. Let's see how this thing looks under the appropriate black light.
That looks good.
Yeah, that light blue T molding definitely pops under the black light. It reminds me of that third generation Marvel vs. Capcom 1 cabinet that Arcade1up did about 3 or 4 years ago. This thing looks good, and I know it has some imperfections, but the Marquee itself shines bright. That contrast between black and yellow doesn't hurt. Even with the black light off and in total darkness, that logo looks pretty sharp. So the question is, if you already have the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet with the riser, do you need to buy this? I think the answer is really no. Even if you want to ditch the riser, you have to get past the side art that is more focused on a cartoon than the game itself. But if you don't have this, this is absolutely a great cabinet to buy for the price of $499. And that's the big thing. The $100 difference is probably going to be the saving grace of this cabinet. But as for me, I already have a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 project, so this Deluxe is not going to stay in its current form. I have some plans for it, and if you want to know what all those plans are, well, you're going to have to stay tuned to the channel. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will see all of you next time.